All right, let's dive right in to a story that's packed with action and controversy.
Oh, yeah, this one's a good one.
We're looking at Mark chapter 3,
Okay.
where Jesus heals this guy with a withered hand
Right in the middle of a synagogue service.
on Sabbath.
Oh, yeah, talk about a power move.
So it's not just the miracle itself. It's like what happens next,
Yeah.
the reactions and the fallout
Absolutely. And what it tells us about Jesus' authority.
and the opposition he's up against.
Yeah, and Mark really sets the scene so well.
Okay.
Like, you can feel the tension.
Oh, totally, yeah.
It's like you've got the Pharisees just lurking, waiting to catch Jesus breaking the rules.
Yeah, they're already suspicious of him, right?
Right.
Just waiting for him to, mess up and violate their super strict interpretation of the Sabbath law.
They want that confrontation.
It's like a powder keg ready to explode.
Uh-huh.
And then Jesus walks in, sees this man with a withered hand. It's a really visible symbol of suffering, obviously.
Yeah.
And he uses it as this opportunity to challenge the whole system.
So smart.
It's like turning the tables on them.
He really does. He doesn't back down from the conflict at all. He confronts them head on.
Yeah.
And he asks them this really brilliant question.
Oh, yeah.
Is it lawful to do good or to do evil on the Sabbath, to save life or to kill?
It's like, boom.
Yeah.
It cuts right to the core issue,
Right.
It
really does. It's forcing them to think about God's law versus their own rigid rules.
Right. Like, what is the true purpose here?
Mhm.
Compassion and love?
Exactly.
But they just clam up.
Silence.
You can tell they're trapped by their own legalism, right?
Certainly.
Can't see the forest for the trees.
Uh-huh.
And Mark even tells us that Jesus is, frustrated.
Yeah.
He looks at them with anger, but also with this deep sadness
Grief.
because their hearts are so hard.
Right. It's such an important detail, though, because
Yeah.
it shows us that Jesus' anger wasn't a sin. Like, this is a righteous anger.
Right.
He's angry because he loves God and he loves people,
He's angry at the injustice of it all.
Yeah. And then, in this super intense moment, he tells the man, stretch out your hand.
And bam, instant healing.
I know, it's incredible.
The man's hand is totally back to normal, right there in front of everybody.
Right.
It's such a powerful display of God's power working through Jesus.
Definitely.
But here's the kicker. The Pharisees, instead of being amazed, they're furious.
I know. It's wild.
It's like the opposite of what you'd expect.
Totally.
They immediately start plotting with the Herodians.
With a political group.
Yeah, to kill Jesus.
It's just insane.
So it's like they're threatened by his popularity and his authority.
Well, he is challenging the status quo. So.
Yeah. Makes you wonder, what are they really so afraid of?
Right.
Is it just about the Sabbath, or is there something deeper going on?
Yeah, and this is a real turning point in the story, I think, because now they're actively trying to get rid of him.
So this little act of healing has set off this whole chain of events.
Yeah. It really shows the clash between these two worldviews.
Right. You've got the rigid rules versus compassion and grace.
It's about the power of God working in the world. And here's where things get really interesting, because you'd think that with all these threats, Jesus' popularity would, take a hit.
Yeah, you'd think people would be scared to follow him.
Right. But the opposite happens. It just explodes.
It's like this wildfire of hope, spreading everywhere
Uh-huh. People are flocking to him.
from all over. Mark says Galilee, Judea, Jerusalem, even Tyre and Sidon.
That's beyond Jewish territory,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So word is spreading far and wide.
It's incredible. They're drawn to his healing power. It's his message of hope.
Well, yeah, they're desperate, right?
Yeah. And his authority. He's not afraid to challenge the system.
It's different.
They need that.
They do. They want to be healed,
Yeah.
physically and spiritually.
And Mark even mentions people with unclean spirits.
Oh, yeah.
Like demons.
They recognize who he is.
They're drawn to him too.
I know. It's kind of mind-blowing.
Isn't it? They call him the Son of God.
Even the demonic forces can see it,
Right.
It's not just about earthly healing. This is a cosmic battle.
Good versus evil.
Uh-huh. And Jesus is right at the center.
Imagine the crowds, though, just pressing in on him,
Oh, it must have been chaotic.
desperate to touch him.
To be healed.
Yeah, it was intense. Mark says they couldn't even eat.
Oh, wow.
It got so bad that Jesus told his disciples to have a boat ready.
Just in case they needed to make a quick getaway.
Right?
Wow. It's like a rock star tour, but with way higher stakes.
Yeah, exactly.
And amidst all this craziness, Jesus chooses his 12 disciples.
Goes up a mountain. And...
Yeah. Why that moment, do you think?
Oh, that's such a key moment. It shows his leadership,
Right.
He's got a plan. He can't do it all himself. He needs a team.
So he picks these 12 ordinary guys, fishermen, tax collectors.
Right. Everyday people.
Gives them the power to preach, to heal, to cast out demons. That's the start of something big right there.
The beginning of the Christian movement.
It is.
Incredible.
But the opposition doesn't go away.
Oh, no.
It actually gets worse.
Really?
Yeah.
What happens?
These scribes come down from Jerusalem,
Okay.
and they accuse Jesus of being in league with Beelzebub.
It's another name for Satan, right?
Yeah. They say he's casting out demons by the power of the devil.
It's like a smear campaign.
Total smear campaign.
Trying to discredit him.
Yep.
Pretty dangerous accusation back then.
Very dangerous.
So how does Jesus respond?
Oh, brilliantly. With logic and a little bit of irony,
Oh, yeah.
He asks them, how can Satan cast out Satan?
Makes you think, right?
It does. He's saying a kingdom divided against itself can't stand.
Even Satan wouldn't work against his own interests.
Exactly.
So he's dismantling their argument.
And then he uses this powerful metaphor. He says, to plunder a strong man's house, you first have to tie him up.
It's like he's saying, look, I'm the one in control here. I've bound Satan. That's how I can cast out demons.
Exactly. But then he takes it a step further and talks about this unforgivable sin.
Oh, yeah.
Blasphemy against the Holy Spirit.
So attributing God's work to Satan.
Right. And this is where we see how serious this spiritual battle really is.
What makes that sin so bad?
It's like a complete rejection of God, hardening your heart to the truth.
Even when it's right in front of you.
Right.
So it's not just about saying certain words. It's about your heart.
Exactly. But even with all this going on, Jesus' own family is, like, struggling.
Still.
Yeah. Mark says they think he's out of his mind.
Oh, wow. That must have hurt.
I know. Imagine your family thinking that.
Just because of your ministry.
It shows you how radical Jesus was being, though.
Yeah. And then his mom and brothers show up again.
Right? When things were really heating up. Yeah, talk about bad timing, right?
Like, seriously, it's like you've got these religious leaders accusing him of all this crazy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
His own family's like, what are you doing, man? And then they show up again.
No.
Wanting to talk.
It's almost funny, but Jesus uses it as a teaching moment,
He always does.
He's always thinking bigger picture.
Right. So someone tells him, hey, your mom and brothers are outside. And he's like, who's my mother and my brothers?
Whoa.
It's like he's redefining family.
He is. It's this radical idea. Like, blood ties aren't the only thing that matters.
Right. He's not saying family isn't important, but there's this deeper connection.
It's about faith.
Yeah. And doing God's will.
Exactly. He looks at his disciples and says, these are my mother and brothers.
Because they're the ones doing God's will.
Right. It doesn't matter if you're related by blood.
It's about shared values.
Commitment to Jesus.
Living out God's purpose.
That's your true family.
Powerful stuff. So we've got healing, we've got controversy, family drama.
All in one story.
It's amazing how much is packed in there.
It really is. And it reminds us that even the simple stories in the Bible have so much to teach us.
Yeah. We see Jesus' compassion, his authority, his willingness to stand up for what's right.
And to turn tough situations into teaching moments.
Right. So the big question for us, how do we deal with challenges in our own lives?
Yeah. Do we back down or do we stand firm?
Trusting that God's got our back.
That's a good one. And who do we consider our spiritual family?
How are we supporting each other?
Encouraging each other in our faith.
Being a force for good in the world.
So much to think about.
It is. I hope this deep dive has made you think a little deeper about this story in Mark chapter 3. Keep exploring, keep asking questions, and we'll see you next time.